Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Sunny Host's recent outburst isn't due to Mercury in retrograde. Her teleprompter malfunctioned after she was given a severe rebuke by Gutfeld, producing unheard-of drama and sending Kleenex flying off the shelves. Hold on tight if you've ever wanted to see someone fall apart faster than a wind tunnel false wig, because this is the encounter that nobody, not even fans of The View, expected. What she said when the cameras stopped rolling will astound you.
I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
In less than 2 minutes, Gutfeld revealed more hypocrisy than The View has been able to overlook in 20 years. When someone asked a question on The View that was more complicated than the usual daily cracking, there was more than what color is your favorite. For the first time, Sunny Host cracked people. It was discovered to be a malfunctioning 4K Super HD TV.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big Bounty towels you don't want to carry.
Those from Costco.
Somebody else goes.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm an but at least I tip.
The host, of course, grabbed center stage and made insightful remarks like facts are optional if you say them passionately enough, and everything bad is someone else's fault. Like a child who plays Guitar Hero with passion but in a negative manner, the host pretends to be an expert in law. The View's commencement started like any other Tuesday, complete with loud affirmations, back padding, the usual group therapy setting, and a general consensus that they were once again defending democracy, one dumb point of view at a time.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the news.
If you haven't seen it, The View is the section of a political Facebook page where people who have read a Wikipedia article about the Constitution claim to be constitutional experts. If reason is seen as a danger to democracy, Sunny is the group's voice of reason. She gets upset when someone disagrees with her latte-fueled perspective.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Good karma. Things really got going when Greg Gutfeld made the decision to fight. As you can see, Gutfeld isn't exactly polished in the conventional sense. He is more akin to the individual at a dinner party who expresses what everyone is thinking but is too polite, or scared, to do so aloud. It appears that no one informed Sunny that sarcasm is still permitted in the majority of states because she fell apart like a deck chair in a cyclone the instant Greg began highlighting her worst hypocritical moments. The first was Sunny's extraordinary capacity to promote civil discourse, even if just weeks earlier he had described half the country as a roaming army of goblins bent on destroying democracy. If you disagree with her, it seems that you cannot have a fair conversation with her. If you do, you are essentially complicit in her murder. As a result, Sunny Hostin, a strange mashup of middle school lunchroom politics and courtroom drama, was born. Greg didn't stop there, either. No. Pulling out receipts as if he were auditing her entire public life, he went all forensic accountant on her. Sunny's fervent protestations against family separations at the border suddenly turned into complicated policy nuances that were too complex for us mere mortals to comprehend when her chosen administration tried the same tactic. Does it contradict itself? It nearly got sewn onto one of her throw pillows.
I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna go, slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Really? Do you think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing.
Greg explained everything in excellent detail. When a conservative sneezes, Sunny's anger is like a light switch that turns on. When a liberal slams against the Constitution, it switches off. Even if a politician misspells a term, she is the kind of person who will insist on looking into its ethics and defending them, even if you give them the E and the T. What is the best feature? The View audience reacted, as one could expect from such a devoted public. They would still have sneered at Gutfeld for spreading hatred even if he had shown them an album of Sunny's most contradictory photos, signed by Sunny herself. As many contemporary TV personalities are instructed to do, Sunny portrayed the victim. Seconds after expressing audience sympathy, she shuddered and let out the practiced tears that came with 3 rounds of media training. She turned Gutfeld's scathing critique into a broad assault on women, minorities, and maybe all rescued dogs. Why is it impossible to win a debate? The battlefield must be expanded until it is entirely emotional.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect this patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up.
Sunny sobbed because, after years of disparaging millions of Americans in her cozy ABC position, someone had the gall to call her out on contradicting herself more than a motivational speaker with commitment issues. Olympic judges would give points for a lack of self-awareness. Yes, they rang the wagons like cowboys in an old western, but they would explain that they weren't defending against thieves, but rather shielding Sunny from the dreadful possibility of being fact-checked. According to Whoopi Goldberg, remember that facts are a social construct if your emotions are powerful enough. The producers seem to be working tirelessly behind the scenes to save Sunny's mental health, as if being exposed for her obvious dishonesty on national television wasn't just another Tuesday for any public figure or politician. However, this was not like the others.
Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self-righteousness.
As the Emperor sobbed into her pricey coffee cup, Greg Gutfeld dared to bring out that she was nude. Social media had a field day, of course. Twitter was inundated with memes in a matter of minutes, one of which depicted Sunny and said, "Strong opinions, weak spine." Her eyes welled up at the caption, "When you realize receipts don't lie." It turns out that even the apolitical populace started to pay attention when you trash half the nation while griping about civility. Greg Gutfeld's show gained popularity on the internet, and his frank and humorous critique of Sunny's behavior resonated with everyone tired of listening to the same three talking points talk about the same topic every week on cable news. With better lighting and a studio audience, it was a fantastic illustration of how The View functions more as a live-action Tumblr post than a discussion. For this synchronized swimming competition, everyone has rehearsed the routine, and the one who throws a cannonball into the water is made fun of for being cruel.
But unlike this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. People, you make me sick. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named ugly.
It was all the more delicious because of The View's desperate attempt to spin the entire scandal. Not about Sunny's hypocrisy, no. The goal was to shield women from public abuse and assault, even if it appears that drawing attention to disparities is now a federal hate crime. In actuality, though, The View offers a secure haven for viewpoints that have never been contested by civil discourse. Instead of participating in debate, Sunny Hostin and her co-hosts would rather lead a daily class on self-esteem under the guise of political analysis. When brought up in a conversation, even irony and logic fall apart like a cheap store.
Did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched it. Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
Moreover, a modern tragedy that has no label cannot be deemed decisive. Sunny made a powerful opening statement on growing up and having the guts to accept your imperfections. The way the viewpoint changed from a critical evaluation of injustice and dishonesty to a therapeutic educational experience was very remarkable. Please disregard the fact that I was caught on live television playing Calvin Ball with my own beliefs. This might have served as the inspiration for a later Marvel movie. But with the same cocky smile that sends a professional spinning with delight, Gutfeld continued to win at the convocation of the gaslighters without any hatred or bitterness. He is aware that pointing out the Emperor's nudity would make you look like a body-positive, repulsive individual. Every time Sunny tries to regain her moral superiority, someone invariably brings up that one instance in which she had to confront her own comments and lost it faster than butter in a microwave. Sunny is stuck in a rut. This has made her a living meme.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
The View would use this time to talk about their options and maybe even invite people who disagree with them in order to foster real conversation and restore the lost ability to speak like adults without passing out on a sofa if someone disagrees. The View's odds of embracing intellectual honesty, however, are as slim as Sunny Hostin's chances of winning the Pulitzer Prize for political courage, let's face it. Future episodes will instead probably feature guided breathing exercises, emotional support llamas, and a 3-part series called Why Feelings Are More Important Than Facts. After an examination, Sunny will still claim to be better than others, link morality to height, and preach about the value of truth while ignoring any clues to the truth, such the fact that it is radioactive. Greg Gutfeld will keep reminding Americans that the emperor is more than just a naked man in the meanwhile. He's also requesting a standing ovation for his
more time to talk. And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in again.
At the very least, Sunny's outburst was a gift to all of us. This beautiful television reminder that hypocrisy ultimately destroys you made us laugh at the end. You can only fool yourself and your audience for so long before someone notices and bursts out laughing. Sunny Hostin's televised breakdown was less about politics and more about the inevitable conflict between the hard, cold wall of truth and the manufactured rage of a fragile ego. The perspective spun the wheel this time, and the result was disgrace.